Welcome to Crafty Brewers Tales Behind Craft Beer, the podcast that will enhance your enjoyment of craft beer and your admiration for the people who make it. On this episode, we go from grain to glass with Hailstorm Brewing in Tinley Park, Illinois. We will dissect. Why do I always say dissect? Listen, I can't read. We will dissect a beer myth, and of course, Katherine will shine a harsh light on bad customer behavior. I'm beer drinker and hellraiser Brian Noonan, and all my opinions are strictly my own for very good reason. With me, as always, is the high priestess of hops. She is the matriarch of malts, the femme fatale of fermentation, the siren of suds. Wow. She's the co-owner and chief everything officer of Exit Strategy Brewing Company, Katherine and Wil. Hello.
Hi. So much happening right now.
I love
Jesus.
the descriptors.
Yeah, no, alliteration is actually you are a Viking at alliteration.
I just love it. There's
a lot happening. There's so much happening.
Everything good?
Everything is great. Nothing is on fire.
I must tell the listener/viewer or viewer/listener, whichever you prefer, we have had great guests up to this point.
Oh, we
love
guests.
all our guests.
Yeah.
I have never seen you all a flutter,
I know. I am a
Twitter
flutter.
about our guest tonight.
I know.
Let me introduce him. He is... I've got to say it, mostly because you wrote it down. No, you didn't write this down. A legend in Chicago brewing.
Absolutely.
Wil Turner is here. He is the head brewer of Hailstorm Brewing, which is at 8060 186th Street in Tinley Park, Illinois. Hailstormbrewing.com. Yep. They are at Hailstorm Brewing on all the socials. And Wil, thank you very much for being here. It's very exciting for all of us, not just for Katherine.
Well, cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
I tamper my Twitter down a little bit. I am all a Twitter, but it's internal. So like I don't want to embarrass myself. Later, so here's how we're going to talk to you about Hailstorm and your incredible path that got you to Hailstorm. But at first, we always like to bust a beer myth.
Okay, well, if I may say something first.
You may say whatever you would like to.
Quickly, she said you were a Viking at alliteration.
Yes.
Like if you were awesome at alliteration, that might have worked a little bit.
Or a Viking at verbiage, or a gladiator of grammar, something like that.
There you go.
You know what?
This is a woman who used to teach.
I'm done.
She was a teacher.
Goodbye, everybody. See you later. It's
all right.
Great.
Listen, Wil and I will be talking. Listen,
I'll be over
you
here.
You with the help. The girls just sit over there.
I'll just be over here in the ladies' corner.
No, but I appreciate you guys having me.
No, we're happy to have you.
We appreciate you coming on.
And you, like I said, we bust a beer myth, and we were discussing this a little bit before to come up with a beer myth, and so this is the one. And I used to believe this one. I don't know if I believe it now, but here is the myth for Wil and Katherine.
Yes.
Draft beer is always better than packaged beer,
False.
Whether it's in a can or a bottle.
False.
Why is that false? I'm getting it fresh out of the keg into my mouth, and it's deliciousness. It's not sitting in
Let's hope there's a glass involved somewhere.
No, I just lay under it. But yeah, it's not sitting around. It's coming right. It's fresh. It's right there.
I think there's two parts to this one. And A is the idea that like, if it's coming right off that tap, it is fresher than anything else. Like the word fresh is one of those weird, when we did our beer myth about dark beers being super heavy.
Right.
That's another one of those adjectives where you go, well, yes and no, right? So fresh could mean it was kegged 6 minutes ago, or it could mean that it was newly tapped. It could mean a lot of different things, right?
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
And in terms of like draft being better than package, I think packaging has come such a long way that we can't necessarily say, well, draft is always, always, always going to be better. Because you can definitely go to a place that maybe is having like carbonation issues, or there's a gazillion reasons why draft could not be working, and your canned or your bottled, your packaged beer could be doing any better. Insights.
For the most part, I would agree that like I prefer draft to package for the most part, and our draft stuff will hold up better than our packaged product because the oxygen intake, or uptake and all that kind of stuff that happens when you're packaging. So I have found that our same product in a keg 3 months down the road is going to show better than our stuff out of a can.
Sure.
Right. And it's all coming from the same source, right? I mean,
yeah.
Whatever. So you put some in a keg and some in a can.
If you are in control of the draft and the package, I'm going to go towards a draft. And most of the times when I go into a place, I will order a draft. But I started to go to some places on the south side because my lovely girlfriend Susie and I bought a house together, and we're hitting some new places on the south side.
Okay.
Yeah, we're hitting some new places on the south side, and we have gone in and gotten some draft, and we're like, does anyone ever order this? It's like, okay, guess what? I'm getting a bucket.
Yep. Right.
Can I ask a follow-up on that thing? I've heard, and this may be part of this myth too, is there something about the lines? I'm sure like smaller breweries are on it, but if you go into a tavern, maybe they're not as, does that really affect it if you're not cleaning the lines all the time?
Yes. So much.
That is huge.
It's huge.
Okay.
So if you, here's, I try to metaphor this all the time, but it's really not. Yeah, here's the one that I've used before. If you have like a crazy twisty straw, right, and it's all over the place, and you take a sip and you've got to watch like the Coke go through the twisty straw, it's going to take longer to get to you. Correct? Instead of like, this is a straight straw that is not as much distance.
Right.
Same thing with draft lines. If you are pulling from somewhere that's like way in the basement off, like way the hell away from your actual taps, the beer is sitting in the line. It's sitting in the little hose.
Okay.
And, at the open of every single day, you got to bleed all of these lines. You've got to get whatever's been sitting in the line out of the line.
Okay.
To start everything fresh. But if you're not maintaining your draft lines, woof. Right?
Now, and that's also another point that I've heard brought up by people who work with draft systems. If your lines are clean, then if it sits in it overnight, it shouldn't be a problem.
Right. But if the lines themselves are gross.
But, and once again, talking about, our own product, when I was working with Goose Island, we had sold, and I was living down in the south side, Evergreen Park, and we'd gone to a couple places that just got, it's when 312 was really coming out and that kind of stuff. And we went to a couple places and we tasted it and we're like, oh, I'm so embarrassed that my beer tastes like that.
Right.
And it's
wow.
we can't go to this place anymore. And, and then I also set up like a brewer funded thing. So like a quality control thing where everyone got a stipend for the month. So you could spend that $50 for beer for yourself and friends, or you could buy a round for people and all that. But it was something where we would go into local places, and then just if we did have an issue with quality control, that we just say, it's like I went into a place before where it's like, oh, this is a seasonal from last year. Right. Please come in and pick this up. Right. Or someone wasn't cleaning their lines, that kind of stuff. So that was one of the ways that we did some of the quality control with our brewers, because oftentimes salespeople get to do all that kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, but the brewers know the beer as well as anybody, because we
giving me an honest
we
report.
taste it all the time.
Right.
And if we go in and just say, hey, you know what, 312 is not tasting like 312, you might want to go to this account, and we might not want to be there anymore.
And that's a big deal beer. I mean, I remember the first time we went out to a distro account and tasted one of our cores, and both Chris and I looked at each other and we were like, oh my God, what is wrong?
And it tasted right when it left, right?
I mean, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because it tasted right here.
Yeah.
Same
because
your
shit. Yeah.
Sure. All right, well, listen.
So I don't think it's busted, nor has it been confirmed. I think you're going to get.
Is it, and this might be a wild generalization, but listening to you two talk, it seems like if you go to a local brewery that is producing the beer, the chances are the draft beer is always going to be consistently good. Where if you go to a place that maybe, they have 20 beers on tap, the one keg of yours may not be tapped that much, so it could affect.
I just thought of an amazing beer myth. Don't let me forget to mention it to you later.
Okay, perfect.
But I just thought of a really good one.
All right.
Do you need a pen?
I will forget it. What?
Yes, do you want to write it down?
Do you need to write it down?
No, maybe a little.
All right, go ahead, write it down. I don't want you to forget.
I don't know. Cody, do some fun magic
while you are writing that down, I am going to reintroduce our guest. Wil Turner is with us. He is the head brewer.
Also keep me from fawning too much, because I'll be over here writing my beer myths down.
Oh, but we'll hear your sighs and your moans.
Oh, my God.
Wil Turner is the head brewer at Hailstorm Brewing. Hailstorm Brewing is in Tinley Park, Illinois, south suburb of Chicago. You need to head out there. It's at 8060 186th Street in Tinley Park. HailstormBrewing.com is their website, at Hailstorm Brewing. Wil, I don't think I was being overly effusive when I said, and you made differ with this, but you are a legend here in Chicago because you've not only worked at some of the biggest craft brewers here in the city,
right?
But your reputation is unparalleled. You've been on the board a number of times for the Illinois Craft Beer Association,
Yep.
And so it is exciting to have you here because you've gotten from the big boys to the smaller breweries, and you started your career at Seabright Brewing in California, correct? There it is, Seabright Brewery, Santa Cruz, California. Now, is that where you were from? How did you start in Santa Cruz?
I went out to Santa Cruz to go to the University of California, Santa Cruz. So I was a banana slug.
Yeah, very nice. And is that where had you brewed before that, or is that where you started? How did you come to beer?
My parents got me my homebrew kit for my 20th birthday.
Okay,
that's awesome.
Very nice.
So I finished high school out in Switzerland. Wow. So I was out there and legal to drink. So I was out tasting as many different beers as I could and traveling Europe. We got our Interrail passes after we graduated senior year, and also we finished our international baccalaureate. So we just, a few of us just traveled and just tasted beer all over the place. I came back out to the United States. And one time in particular, I remember going to a restaurant with my parents. My dad had to go to the restroom, and he said he was going to get a certain dish, and he said, figure out which beer I should pair with my meal.
Okay.
And so I asked, and the woman's like, "You're not 21. You can't be asking about beer." I'm like, "I'm not going to drink it. It's for my dad. My dad wanted to know, and I happen to know quite a bit about beer." So it was quite awkward coming back to the U.S. and being under 21.
The U.S. is always awkward.
So it was, my parents got me my homebrew kit for my 20th birthday. So was that legal? I don't know.
Well, they bought it.
Okay, yeah, they bought it.
Yeah, so I was doing that for about 4.5 years, and then I took a break from UC Santa Cruz, was hanging out with my parents. I was out in the Detroit area.
Okay.
I was in Birmingham, and I was the beer guy for Merchant of Vino.
Okay. Oh. I need to pause. Have we not discussed that I was born and raised in Birmingham and that I did a lot of shopping at Merchant of Vino? We've never gotten there? Because I know exactly where you were, and that probably at some point crossed paths.
Wow.
Okay.
That was 91.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's okay.
This is getting odd.
No, I had no idea. That's great. Well, Birmingham,
I know.
It's not the world's largest town.
And I'm sure there were a ton of Merchant of Vinos.
No, there was a great chain.
Oh, no, it was a good chain.
It was a
local
chain. Oh my God, it was a lovely local chain. All the good wine, all the good cheese.
Yep,
so you're the beer guy there,
and then I was selling liquor and stuff too, and so we had a lot of the Detroit Pistons players. We had a cellar there, and so they would have their spirits and their wines and all that. So Lee Iacocca's wife would come in and get her wine from the cellar and all that kind of crap.
Iacocca.
Wow.
Yeah, so
pulls up in his K car, runs in, gets their wine. Very nice. So all right, so then you're back in Birmingham, Michigan. How do you get back to Santa Cruz, or what took you back there? Did you just want to
so
did you go back to school?
I went out to a friend's wedding and went and visited my friends at Seabright Brewery, and they said that they were looking for a brewer.
Okay.
And I had worked at Liquor Barn when I was going to school out in Santa Cruz. I'd worked at Liquor Barn, and then so I got a part-time brewing position at Seabright, and then I was working part-time at Liquor Barn.
Wow.
And then kept doing that. Someone left. I moved to full-time assistant, and then the head brewer left, and I moved to the head brewer position. And
how long did you stay at Seabright before you came to Chicago?
I was there 92 to 99. I left there to help start English Ales, which was a brewery down in the Monterey area. So it was technically in Marina. And they were brewing beer, or we were brewing beer under license from a brewery out in England.
Oh, wow.
So I got to go out and train at the brewery in England. So I went out there, learned proper cask conditioning and all that, spent a month in England working at a brewery out there. And then we did their beers under license. And so I got to develop the recipe. I got to build a brew house from the ground up.
Nice.
Just get to use brew house and do all that. And
that's incredible.
Now, what in that time period, 91, 92, when you were at Seabright and doing all this, what's the biggest difference between the industry now and what you guys were brewing back then? Was it much more limited as far as styles are concerned? Was there a different focus on what people were looking for, especially on the West Coast?
Well, I was limited at that point. I was limited because I was doing beers under license. So I was doing traditional,
at that one. Yeah,
traditional British stuff.
But what about before at Seabright?
We were doing a number of different styles, but they were more traditional.
Okay.
You know, and then people have gotten a little more creative here and there. Actually, when I went to work for that brewery in England, they had taken some inspiration from breweries in the U.S.
Oh, nice.
And they actually had a beer that was using Cascade hops.
Oh.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah, so they had their standard stuff with Styrian, Golding, and Fuggle and all that, you know. But they were like,
Styrian, Golding,
we have
Fuggle?
one. We
Was
have
that their
one
law
with, yeah,
firm,
they were
or-
using one with Cascade.
Wow.
Right.
That's interesting.
That's very cool.
That was, I mean, well before Cascade was such a big deal.
So
That's awesome.
And that was like 2000-ish.
Yeah.
And
Industry's come so far. It's amazing to me what we're doing now stylistically. Sorry,
So-
you were in the middle of a thing.
No.
Hit it. I'm listening. I'm in awe.
So what
Of the Birmingham
brought
thing.
you then after you're there and you build this you work under license and you do all that? What brought you to Chicago? Was there an opening at Goose,
I helped establish that brewery, and then some friends that I'd worked with at Seabright ended up buying Santa Cruz Brewing Company and Front Street Pub. So Jerry wanted to go into his winery full time. He owned Trout Gulch Winery, so he went back to his winery, sold off the brewery, and then I came over and worked with a couple people. And then the guy who was going to run the kitchen side of things pulled out of the project, and things went under. So I was looking for work.
Okay.
Just had a baby recently, and was very upset that I did not have a job and I had a baby and everything. But
get that.
They take a lot of work.
my brother was very good friends with Eilish, and Eilish was John Hall's assistant at Goose Island.
Yeah.
Right.
And we sent information out there to them, and Greg Hall got in touch with me and said, "Hey, if we know of anything, we'll let you know." And then that's when Finn ended up leaving to start Southern Tier. And so he left, and then Matt Robbins left the brew pub to go to the production brewery, and then so I took over.
And you took over at the brew pub. It's amazing.
I forget that there's a Southern Tier connection. I forget that all the time. And then every time we're at Southern Tier, I'm like, oh, that's right. It's such a web of humans.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. If, you obviously have a very good reputation, as do a number of brewers. Is it one of those things where your name is going to open some doors? If it, as opposed to they'll go, oh, well, Wil Turner's available, or we've got 5 other people who, they're qualified, they're good, but because you've built this reputation, did that ease your transition to Chicago?
Well, that helped out for sure. Timing. Timing is everything. Yeah, and that was a good thing as well. But that helped me get the foot in the door. But I did a good job with my interview, and I had some of the experience. They wanted someone with cask experience as well.
Okay.
And we did have the cask condition program at Goose, so we were doing a number of different cask conditioned beers. We built a little cask cellar downstairs, and so
I wish
it
we
was just
did more cask
something
in
that
the
worked
US.
into their plans. And then I was working both Wrigley and Clybourne.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Yeah, brewing at both places.
That Wrigley facility was really nice while it was there.
That's pretty cool.
That was that was nice. So, all right, and we've talked about you also worked at Rev, you worked at Open Outcry before you came to Hailstorm. As a brewer, is it all just waiting till something else opens? How do you decide, I guess, when it's time? Because it sounds like you were doing great at all these jobs. So how does a brewer decide, okay, if I'm not going to open my own place, it's time to entertain an offer from somebody else?
Well, one of the things was that the project at Santa Cruz Brewing Company, I actually got my brother, my parents, and we all invested in that.
Okay.
We all lost money, so I am not going to be an owner again.
Okay, fair
Great
enough.
job.
So I am working.
Great job.
I'm working for other people now.
Very nice.
So that's how that decision was made. But no, it depends. They weren't brewing as much at the brew pub at Revolution
Okay.
That's right.
You know, so they started to do more small batch stuff on the old brew house there.
Yeah.
You know, so it was one of those things. Goose Island, they promoted me to senior brewer, so I was at the production facility.
Yeah.
I did about a year and a half there as a, you know, production brewer, and that just wasn't my thing. Figuring out when spent grain needed to be picked up, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I liked having the big brewery benefits, but yet being, you know, at the pubs and, you know, having the creativity and the, you know, the versatility and, you know, the artistic freedom to come up with small batch stuff that could get scaled up to the larger brewery.
Okay.
You know, like we developed things like A Little Crazy was, you know, one of the, that actually, A Little Crazy started out, we had the barley wine. So take a couple steps back. So they had done the Repo Man series at Revolution.
Right.
So a bunch of the songs were named after the soundtrack of Repo Man. And one of those, it was institutionalized.
Okay.
So that was the barley wine was institutionalized. And so we decided that we were going to do the barley wine. It was like, hey, let's do a small beer.
Okay.
And then rather than a standard small beer like the old Foghorn, you know, they would do the small beer off of that at Anchor. We decided, okay, well, we'll, instead of it being like a 4.5% version of the bigger beer, let's mix it up a bit. Let's stop the runoff, make it a little stronger so it was close to 6% as a small beer, and then let's use a Belgian yeast on it. So, you know, so you have the institutionalized, and the other one would be like A Little Crazy.
So good.
So that's how that actually started, just doing a small beer at the pub. And then it became its own recipe and everything, but...
That kind of answers what I was wondering. When you go from Revolution and Goose Island are obviously very big. Hailstorm is a nice-sized brewery. When you go to that, talking about what you said about the artistic freedom and stuff, you joined Hailstorm in 2020. In a brewery of Hailstorm size, do you have all that artistic freedom? You can do more things as the guy who doesn't have to worry about, you know, when the grain and all the more corporate-y kind of stuff.
Well, I'm the brewer.
Yeah, you're the guy.
You know, so and then I work with Joe Oliver, who's an awesome guy, and he runs the packaging and everything, and he's the cellar guy. Okay. You know, so he does all that, and you know, I just get to do the brewing, so that's easy. But yeah, I'm able to develop some new recipes there, and you know, people are always wanting the stuff that they've been drinking for years and years. And so we're trying to tweak things. And, you know, I've yet to brew a perfect beer.
Okay. Well, that's good, right?
And so that is my quest, to brew the perfect beer. I have yet to do it, but I'm always making small tweaks here and there, you know, and we're constantly doing the sampling. And that's one of the things that I got, especially being at production at Goose Island, daily tastings.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
They're like, okay. And, you know, it was like, pass or fail. Are you getting diacetyl in this? You know, is this good? And, you know, and then you're just tasting 3 or 4 side by side. And it's like, okay, this one's an 82. This one's a 90. This one's a 76. And, you know, just you get to know your stuff.
Okay. So what becomes the perfect beer? Yeah. Is it style? Is it that it hits every single note for that style? Like what's your definition?
When would you kick back and say, that's the one, I did it?
Well, I wouldn't say it's perfect.
No. But
what do you aim it for? Yeah.
You said you haven't made it yet. So as you keep tweaking,
no.
When you hit, do you think you would ever hit it?
I've won a number of gold medals and you know, that kind of stuff. And so like that was the best beer in the world for the day.
Right.
In that category. You know, so I'm like, hey, I'll take that.
Yeah, but absolutely. But you just said you've yet to make the perfect one on those days, which has got to be phenomenal. Did you still go, yeah, but I could probably do it a little. I could tweak that a little more.
Day after.
Well, there are a lot of times when you're like, yeah, this is money. This is really good.
There you go.
Speaking of, we should discuss what we have in our glass.
Yes. We want to get to all of the Hailstorm.
We best do it quickly because mine's almost empty.
Yes.
Right,
well, we got a lot. We could keep pouring. What is this one?
All right. We are starting off with the Hotel Life, and this is the new packaging right here. So
it's very slick. It's very cool.
It's very nice.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And
yeah.
when you say slick, you're not talking about mouthfeel, right? You're just talking about the packaging, the label.
No, not slick mouthfeel, slick packaging. Yes.
All right. Yeah. So this
Sharp.
is a brand
Can
new.
I say sharp? No, because that's not. No, we don't want sharp either. That's not a thing. You got to really watch like Brewers and beer words. You got to watch it. You really do.
I'll just say it's jazzy.
You know what? That has nothing to do with the mouthfeel.
It is colorful.
It is jazzy. Colorful. It's great. It's awesome.
Yeah. So what is Hotel Life?
Hotel Life is an American lager.
It is delicious.
And so it's about 4.8 by volume. It's got some corn in it. Basically all Pilsner and corn.
Yeah, what does corn do different than other grains?
It will give different flavor characteristics. It also, a lot of larger breweries will use some of those adjuncts because they are cheaper than using all barley malt.
Yeah, it's very good. This is one I could sit back and drink.
That's kind of where I land
for a while.
Little corn in the lager.
Corn?
I love a little corn in the lager. I really like truly. Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever noticed it, but now I will.
Yeah.
I probably have. I just didn't know.
Maybe.
So this is obviously a very sessionable beer. We could sit back, enjoy them. When you're setting out to brew, and I've been to Hailstorm many times, you guys do in the tap room offer a wide variety of stuff. Is that just because that's what the customer wants, or is it something that you're like, well, I don't want to pigeonhole myself into one style?
Well, it's always nice to have a wide variety of styles for people, and so that's another one of those sayings that we've got. It's like, someone will say, "I don't like beer." It's like, you just haven't found a beer you like yet.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, yes, and we've been to beer tastings before, and someone will say, "I'm not really a beer drinker," and sometimes volunteers will mistakenly say, "Well, this is our lightest one." It's like, no, but that's what they don't like.
Right.
Right.
And it's like, what do you drink? Red wine. Oh, try the Rosa.
Yeah.
Something like that with a hibiscus in it or something.
Same thing. I don't like beer.
Brown
do you drink coffee?
Do you drink red wine? Yeah, or whatever it is.
Okay.
Please do try this porter.
Right.
Like what are you drinking? Do you drink unsweetened tea? Great. Like here's an English bitter. Try that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
It like that's where it was, I came into this brewery, but I don't like beer. Tell me what you are drinking then, and we will find a beer that fits it. Right?
I think because Will's right. My wife didn't like beer when we first got married. Now she tries all kinds of stuff. She likes it. But everywhere we would go when she was first coming into her beer life, they would say, "Oh, well, this is like a, the lightest thing. This is," and you're right. If people started drinking light, beers and they didn't like them, why would you push that on them?
Right.
Push something else. So what is at Hailstorm? Is there a core that you guys have that maybe was in place before you got there in 2020 that you still do? Is it, you said you tweaked some of the original recipes. What are people going to find all the time?
Well, our flagship beers, we've got the Hotel Life, being the lightest of those. And then we've got the Southside Irish Red.
I love your Irish Red.
Irish Red Ale. And we've got Prairie Madness right here is our flagship IPA.
Nice.
And then we've always got something barrel-aged, strong stout, whether the Vlad or the VZS, which is the Vlad versus Zombie versus Shark. Some of those, big barrel-aged beers. So, we've got something on that side. And we also do some kettle sours. Right now, we've still got some of the key lime forklift, the key lime cheesecake. Yeah. So that's got lactose and some other flavorings in it, in addition to being kettle soured. And then we've got some base sour that we, we'll kind of mix up at the pub, and flavor kegs individually.
Sours are so cool like that. It's just, we've talked about this before. Like sours, I always think of them as the giant Lego board that you start to build the house on. Like once you figure out the base to the house, you can do whatever you want with it. Right? Like, and just the base sours is the greatest thing to be like, I have this. Now I can do whatever I want with the rest of the house, and I can, make it all kinds of cool and make it whatever I want. I love it. I could talk about sours all day long.
And Legos.
I sours, Legos, and fermentation. I can talk about it all day long.
Yeah, that was another revolution thing that I helped develop at the pub was freedom of speech.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
So I did freedom of speech and then freedom of press. Yeah, those were the ones that I developed, and then we got to scale up to production.
Yeah.
So it's pretty fun to have a part of that.
Is there the basics have to be the same? I would imagine, whether you're brewing at Goose, Revolution, Open Outcry, or now for the last 3 years at Hailstorm. For people who don't know, what's the big difference when you talk about scaling up? We know that means getting bigger, but what is the challenge of going from small to big or big to small?
Well, it's a really matter of especially we're a small brewery, but this is the first small brewery I've been at that does all the packaging.
Okay.
So that's quite a challenge.
Yeah.
So once you start to do the packaging, that scares the crap out of me.
Okay.
Because I'm used to brewing the beers that I do, and I'm able to go up at the end of the shift, and I'm able to taste everything that's been brewed, and everything is there. Right. I mean, aside from filling crowlers or whatever to go, yeah. But I'm able to taste everything and go, yeah, this is tasting great. This is, and then once it goes onto a shelf, and people aren't rotating your stock, and all that other kind of stuff, it frightens me.
Have you heard from people
it's maddening, isn't it? To be like, why is this still here?
Yeah, or people who come into the tap room and they're drinking Hotel Life, and they're like, man, this is great. I love this. And then maybe they're out somewhere and they pick up a 4-pack. Have they ever come back and go, what happened to the stuff in the can? Because like you said, if they're not rotating your stock and it's sitting in the back of the shelf, which I doubt it would, but you know what I mean. Well,
we try to get our sales people out there and keep an eye on things, and if anyone has something that's been sitting too long, we'll absolutely switch it out for them. We try to do as much of that as possible to make sure everything is fresh. But that's one of the things. And now being a smaller brewery, I was used to having a lot of people around. For QA/QC. Okay. And working with like Kristen and Mary and all the people who were running all that kind of stuff, and so it's a smaller operation now. So it's is there a different kind of pressure then, because now it does all rest on your shoulders? Well, it's always nice to have people to bounce things off of.
Sure.
So if certain people, like if people aren't at the brewery, I'm always like having Susie taste stuff and our chef Brian. Yeah. I'm like, okay, taste this. Let me know which one you prefer. Okay. Do you taste a difference? So I just love having people to work with, and everyone's palate is different as well. So that's actually been really cool with doing some of the barrel blending.
Oh yeah.
Like for Fobab.
Sure.
And all that kind of stuff. And just having everyone's sheets. I'm like, you don't have to be a brewer. You don't have to be, you don't even have to work here. But just like,
try it.
Hey,
and tell
we're doing these 8.
Right.
I want to see everyone's feedback, and then
the input is always
and then it's also a matter of educating them as well. So once they're tasting more, and then they are able to figure out, like initially they might not have the descriptors that work.
Okay.
And one of my favorite things was we were talking about, essentially it was like a Hefeweizen kind of thing. It was like that, banana, and, banana clove, that kind of stuff, and some of the bubblegum kind of esters. But someone was like, oh, circus peanuts.
Oh.
And so isoamyl acetate is a flavoring in circus peanuts, but that's one of the things that this was a trigger for them. So when they tasted it, they're like, oh, circus peanuts.
Huh.
And so it's like whatever, like you just it's fun to taste with people, and then just to educate them as to like identifying what they're tasting, and then being able to explain it. And
I have been abnormally quiet because I'm listening so hard to all of the things. And one of the things that is sticking out, and we have talked about it a number of times, if we've sat around this table, is that when you devote your life to the production of spirits, of wine, of beer, when you are doing that, you lead a different kind, like your lifestyle is a little bit different in the sense of I'm not out, once again, I am not out always to get blitzed. I'm out here to talk to people
taste.
and to educate people and to taste it and to have these very meaningful, very intellectual conversations about compounds and palates and what are you tasting and how are you doing this and what is the craft behind it and like how do we make the thing that we are consuming? And I think that's, I mean, again, I'm the slowest I always am the slowest drinker of the group. I'm the worst. This is why I don't actually drink to get drunk because I'm never done. This is a problem I have. I've never finished.
We ask every brewer 3 questions at the end, but before we ask those 3 questions, you just poured us something else. Tell us what you have poured us.
Oh yeah, this is the good alt days. So this is a German-style alt beer, German-style brown ale.
What is an alt beer for those who don't know?
So it is a top fermented German-style brown ale.
Very nice.
You are hitting Brian's high notes right now. Like everything so far, I mean, these are just, he's into it. We love it. I mean, we really could just talk. I could listen to beer talk all day long.
Cody could just do an ASMR of us drinking. So for an alt beer, what, like I'm tasting a little more hoppy than is, I don't know if that's correct, but what are the characteristics for good alt days?
Well, yeah. So it's going to have more malt and hops. You know, because coming off of the hotel life. Yeah. So we use a little bit of Munich and Carafa in this to give it a little richer malt character. It's going to have a little roast to it.
Yes.
But nothing that's like roast malt bitterness. It's very smooth, and then it does have a solid bitterness to it as well.
Friends, the next time that you're cracking open a Hailstorm beer, I would like you all, everyone, listen, to please go ahead, and to look at the flavor profile graphic that is on the can, because this is absolutely brilliant. My eyesight is gone to absolute hell in a handbasket, but this is exactly what.
Oh wow!
Right, like this is what beer drinkers need, and this is what novice beer drinkers need more. Right?
Yes.
So like, hit me with this profile and tell me what I'm getting into. This is amazing. This is great.
Yeah.
Do yourself a favor and read the label.
For example, the local Harvest IPA.
I love that. That's incredible.
A little more toward the sweet.
Yeah.
A little more toward the dry and malty and light. But I mean, how many times, even if you drink beer a lot, like me.
Like a lot.
A lot. Frequently, I should say. No, I didn't say drink a lot of beer.
Does anyone at this table drink beer a lot?
A lot. But yeah, I do too. But like, I can go in and unless I go to my local brewery and the bartender can tell me what the characteristics are, or it's on the sign.
Yeah.
I'm standing in Binny's. I don't know. I hadn't realized that. That's a brilliant marketing idea, or a brilliant marketing idea, brilliant educational tool.
Yeah, that's a tool.
No, it's great, because then they could say, well, all right, I'm looking at all of Hailstorm's beers. These ones seem to fit the profile that I'm after, and I'll try this one because it's outside my comfort zone. But at least then they know what they're trying.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because I was working at Liquor Barn before I was 21, and stocking shelves, all that kind of stuff, and I could educate people as to. Like, oh yeah, this is what Chimay is like, or this is what Sam Smith's is. I couldn't drink it yet, but I could.
Here,
but I could talk. But I could talk about it. And just, and so I was just asked earlier today about what we would recommend for a Thanksgiving dinner, and I thought that an alt would be a nice beer for a Thanksgiving meal.
For everything that's going to be, if you're going Norman Rockwell style with your Thanksgiving, this is exactly what you need. 100% what you need. Because it's got enough bitter, and okay, so you got hops on that, right?
I got maybe it wasn't hops. There was the bitterness, but it came from the roast. It seemed like
right into that.
Once Will mentioned the roast, I was like, that's the taste I got.
It's unsweetened tea. It's that kind of bitter.
Okay.
Right. And that's what I like. What is this bitter? It's unsweetened tea. It's just brewed tea. Yeah. Like that's the akin and like the. Well,
that's why you guys are the experts and I just drink. Let's go back for a minute. Yes. Because you mentioned that you developed freedom of speech at Revolution. It was a wildly popular beer. How did that idea come to you, and what did it end up being when you were done?
Well, it just was one of the things that they wanted to develop. They wanted to do a kettle sour, and so I was nervous as hell because I had never done one, and so I got in touch with some other friends in the brewing industry who had done like Gozas and other stuff at German breweries or German style breweries, and got some information from them, and just read up on it, and then we just thought it might be fun to do the Freedom series and start off with that, and then just we did the play on speech, and spelled it with PEACH, so it was kettle sour with peach.
So good.
With
so good. So good.
It was
so good,
peach concentrate, but real fruit.
Yeah.
Real fruit in that.
Oh my! Like I said, my wife loved it.
And then
it's real fruit. It's not Amaretti magic.
What, are you ever surprised? Like, I mean,
it's so. It just smacks you in the face and it sticks out like a sore thumb every time. Come at me, Amaretti.
Oh wow! Did you just throw down a challenge?
I did.
I just placed an order for them. So
I mean, to be fair, same. Who hasn't placed an order? But there's Amaretti magic and then there's fruit. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm going to let you guys.
No. It's. Listen.
I'm going to let you guys start a war with the concentrate people.
No.
That's all.
Or be a sponsor. Prove me. Just come out.
Prove it wrong.
There's nothing to prove wrong. People like flavor scientists exist for a reason.
Well, and Amaretti doesn't blow up your bottles and cans.
They sure don't. That's the other thing that's really nice is that they don't. And also, like finding things like marshmallow is very challenging. Good. When the fine folks at Amaretti will give you a tiny bottle of marshmallow that you could just dose everything with, and you can get something s'more-ish instead of like ruining a tank by trying to
put actual marshmallows in there.
Right. You're going to go Stay Puft Marshmallow Guy into the tank. You don't want that. Right. You want a couple ounces.
Fair enough.
So yeah, Amaretti, valuable.
And I've got a marshmallow story. I did some cask conditioning with marshmallows, and just was using those, for priming to do cask conditioned beer. But
really,
we'd done like the artificial marshmallow kind of stuff initially, and then it was like, hey, I'm at Revolution, and Courtney's making marshmallows here, and so I was like, yeah, this is gonna be awesome.
Oh wow!
But you know what? People are used to that really artificial vanilla-y flavor from the crappy marshmallows. Yep. So that when we did it, they were just kind of disappointed with it.
It is interesting to know that like American palates, the royal swing so heavily toward an artificial, right? Like, oh, is this actual grape or is it purple?
Well, that's why people don't like.
Different, right? Like, is it jet puffed or did somebody create this marshmallow in the kitchen? And I remember the marshmallows of which you speak because I was a very large fan of going to the brew pub.
That's why people only want mint chocolate chip ice cream if it's green.
Never. Brian, we do not have time in the program to talk about white mint chocolate chip versus green mint chocolate chip because I will throw down hard because I ride very, very hard for white mint chocolate chip because that means it hasn't been hit with food coloring.
Listen, I'm not going to argue with you.
I wouldn't today.
I'm just. All right. So before we get to the three questions,
sorry everyone.
Wil Turner is our guest again, and Wil has been. Well, he's been everywhere. He's done everything. He's like a Johnny Cash song. He's been everywhere, man.
Wow.
He's been brewing up and down. I'm sure you get a lot of younger brewers or maybe some seasoned brewers asking you advice. Is there something that you tell them, and is there some information that you keep close to the vest? Because
and why is it don't be an owner?
Yeah, besides don't be an owner, which we already got.
Yeah, I got that.
And why is it that?
So don't be an owner
work with
is
other people's
number
money.
one.
And
when it comes to the actual technique and the art of brewing, do they ask you?
Well, I do not have a really strong science background, and one of those things was that, once again, being in the United States, they did not tell me in chemistry that I could be a brewer.
No, they
so
sure
I was
like, just memorize the periodic table and shut up.
So I am not really strong on the science side of things. I am more from the artistic part. And I got my beer judge certification back in 91. And so I've been judging, FOBAB since year one, and Great American Beer Festival, World Beer Cup, all that kind of stuff. So, I'm doing a lot of that, judging and tasting. But yeah, I definitely come more from the artistic side of things. And as cool as it is to just come up with things off the top of your head, take good notes. That's what I'm going to say is take good notes, because if you do come up with something spontaneously and it hits, you want to be able to make that again.
Yep.
Okay.
So, and I do that with all my jerky, when I'm making different marinades of jerky and that kind of stuff. I'm taking good notes, because if people at Fobab like it, then I can brew it again, or I can make that again, for a Q2 meeting, or so actually we will be hosting Q1.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh.
At Hailstorm. So.
I wonder if we're still in the guild. I need to check if we're still in the guild. I would assume so.
Oh,
I would imagine.
I would maybe.
You can come hang out.
I could just come hang out. Yeah. That'd be great. Yeah. Here is an
come play pinball with us.
I could do what now?
We have pinball machines at the brewery.
Oh,
so
I'm terrible at that. Let's do it.
Okay, well, we have...
Also, guys, I finished this first.
Oh.
No.
Good job.
We don't need to move on. I'm just saying.
Well, we are.
For the record, I finished it first when I just said I was the slowest drinker at the table. I do want to ask one. Can I get one question in? Great. Here's the one question that I have. How do you protect your palate as a judge? Because you're judging a lot, you're drinking a lot, and you're enjoying a lot of things, and you're critiquing a lot of things. How are you protecting your palate?
I am.
It is. Yep. Nope. Everything is great. That cup did not. Wow.
Well, guess what? That cup is also empty. So.
It is. Oh,
and you know how I protect my palate?
We're always half full.
More beer?
No. I drank all my water.
Good
so
job, buddy.
that's what I do. No, all that's right. What I. No, yeah. If we had something like unsalted pretzels, or something, I would do that. Sometimes some bread, but yeah, generally I'm just drinking a lot of water. And especially if you're doing, if you're doing 3 rounds in the morning, 3 rounds in the afternoon, you could be doing 12. And then you're looking at 30 plus in the morning and 30 plus in the afternoon. You're looking at a couple ounces per. So. Yeah, I mean, you're consuming 10 beers, over the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, just hydrate and
hydrate.
Yeah, we got to move on.
Sorry, we got to move on to questions, because I could do it all day.
So these are the questions we ask everybody. Question number 1, the big 3. Question number 1, the hill that you will die on, the one style that may be wildly popular, but you will never brew it.
I cannot say that, because I am working at a brewery that is making me brew certain styles.
Okay.
And I'm not super happy about adding lactose.
I understand.
In large quantities.
I'm going to pick up what you're throwing down right now.
But
is that lactose possibly also combined with a hearty hop profile, or many
if I went to
flavorings?
steak and I don't know, shake.
Got it. No, I got it. I got it. I'm good. I got it.
All right. So, all right. We'll
heard.
No, I
you can take the 5th on that.
No, I'm not. I'm not gonna say no. I'm not brewing that. But yeah, there are certain things that have had a lot of lactose in them, and maybe or maybe not dialed back on the lactose.
Sure, I think as a nation, a grateful nation would thank everybody if we just toned it just a smidge down. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no, I don't. My issue with the really heavily adjuncted stuff is that it can mask so many flaws, and it really doesn't showcase a brewer's talent. Mm-hmm. Like, anyone can take a bunch of amaretti and just be like, oh, hey, look, this tasted like toasted marshmallows.
Right.
And it was like, toasted marshmallows, awesome. It's like, what's the base beer?
Who knows?
Toasted marshmallows.
No, that's not a base beer. Friends, not a base beer.
So, I mean, I'm more of a brewer that likes to have the balance. And if you can't taste the beer, then, it's lost a little bit. And then I think that it doesn't take as much talent to just heavily adjunct something.
Sure.
The second question, is there a beer that you've brewed, and it may have been really successful, may have been just middling successful, but for whatever reason, you've decided, no, I'm not going to brew this one again?
Oh, there have been a few things. Actually, one of the biggest pains in the butt was doing some of the seltzers.
Oh, Lord in heaven!
Like using a base, that seltzer base that we had, And the seltzer base was very strong. It was a kind of a cidery, sake kind of character to it. And no matter what we put in as far as fruit or anything else, it would always come through. Okay. And we ended up dumping it. We ended up dumping the base. Like a year and a bit in, but it was just one of those things that I was never happy with that. Okay. And so now we're looking into doing our own, just brewing the seltzer and doing the sugar and the water and fermenting it and doing it properly and not having that crazy weird base. But he bought a whole tote of it. And it was just like, and so I tried so many different things on that. And it was just a lot of work to do it. And it's like, no matter what, you just like, all right, this is going to be good. And then you're like, I still smell the base. And it's like, it's
not good.
It's not good.
And the final question, your go-to when you're off the clock, could be one of your beers from Hailstorm, could be something else. What's your go-to relaxing beer?
As the kind of desert.
Yeah, desert island beer.
Desert island beer. I like a nice hoppy red ale. Okay. So like a nice American red, maybe mid-5s ABV. Okay. Just like bright citrus, little caramel sweetness. Just nice, balanced and drinkable and.
Sounds delightful.
Very nice.
That's what I would go with. And then if I may say, this last beer that we are tasting, this is the local harvest.
Sorry.
So this actually uses hops that we grow on premise. So some of our estate hops, because we were in a bit, we're in a big industrial boring building. So we had the hops growing up the side of the building the last couple of years. We've harvested them the last 2.
Nice.
And we've also gotten locally grown hops from other people. We've given rhizomes to people, and then we're getting the hops from them. And then Susie and I grow hops as well, and so we harvest all those. We don't have enough to do it entirely with the locally grown hops.
Hops are rude, and they take a very long time to grow.
Yeah, and on our size system, we can't do it entirely, but we do supplement with other whole hops, and then we throw some pellets into the kettle. But this is always fun, and I think it's cool because no one else's beer is going to taste like this, because these are
they're so
the terroir and everything else that we're dealing with, and these are our hops that are in this beer.
That's cool.
So it's not just stuff hops that we're getting from Yakima or Oregon or wherever.
That's very cool.
That everyone else has access to.
No, it's absolutely brilliant.
It's always fun, and I like the way we're doing the late additions with the fresh hops. You get kind of that nice tea-like hop character to it. It's just different. It's fun. Yeah. And so it's just the seasional thing too.
It's supposed to be kind of fun, isn't it?
It is for me.
I always have fun when I'm drinking it. So that's good. Again, Hailstorm Brewing is at 8060 186th Street in Tinley Park. HailstormBrewing.com or at Hailstorm Brewing. We have time for a quick.
It'll be quick.
Light of.
It'll be quick,
shining this on the bad customer behavior.
Today, I've been thinking about this.
Yes.
A lot. And I'm going to be quick. I promise. Mostly. Today isn't one specific instance of like this person did something crazy. Today is more of like a blanket statement to just the way that consumerism in craft beer is changing and how it's kind of making life harder for craft brewers in general. Which then leads me to equate that with bad customer behavior.
Okay.
Travel back with me to, I'm going to go ahead and say 4 years ago, maybe 5, when you could just go to a brewery and you could sit next to somebody and you could have a conversation with a stranger or your buddy or the bartender and you were perfectly happy. Mm-hmm. Perfectly happy. Maybe a TV was on, maybe it wasn't. But you went out to have a beer specifically.
Sure.
We have gotten into this. And I come to this from the perspective of all the brewers we've been talking to lately, between Fobab and the show and everything else. We've gotten to a point now in consumerism where we as brewery owners, and this is specifically to craft beer, and it's not everyone, but it's a lot, have to keep people so wildly entertained with additional shit that you aren't just going out to have a beer anymore. And I think it's this weird thing that's happening in the marketplace of like, and I can speak to it here from the shop of like, pre-pandemic, people just came and they drank, and if the TV was on, they watched a sport event, and that was it. Go ahead.
Do you think the 2 years that we all had to just sit home and drink beer by ourselves made us long for
it made you long for music bingo constantly?
I don't know, maybe a little, because we got tired of sitting with the people
Sure,
that lived
no,
in our house.
I get it, but we're now like years removed.
I'm not saying that's the case. I'm asking
and I
the
hear
question.
you, and I think you're right that we're still catching up socially a little bit, but I think we've reached a point where so many breweries now are like, what is the next gimmick that I have to throw to get people in here? And it is becoming something where on the consumer end, they're like hunting for the thing instead of just coming to hang out, which is what most brewery owners always just kind of want. You just want to come and hang out. Come and hang out, drink the beer, talk to me about the beer. What do you like? What are you getting from it? All these things, as opposed to come here, order your beer, and then like watch the thing or do the thing. And there's nothing wrong with being active and being entertained when you're out. That is 100% not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we've just now started to condition consumers to needing something additional as opposed to just going to the local joint to hang. And the more folks that I talk to, the more I'm hearing like, I can't believe that I am now a trivia host, and I am a talent booker, and I am the guy running music bingo, and I am like hosting pottery classes, and I am doing like dog vest making. And
you didn't
like
mention
all of
puppet
these
shows.
Things.
Puppet shows might
Puppet
be big.
shows, like all the things that you can possibly do, people are doing.
Well, is that partly also because there are so many now? There's a glut of breweries, so everybody is trying to get. You're going to get your local people.
Sure, yeah.
But to expand that audience, you're going to have to do some gimmicks.
Sure. Okay. And
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just
I know.
Listening from the outside. It's like, well, everybody's trying to.
I think I would much rather. Okay, so, and this just again, my perspective is I'd rather have people come back repeatedly and not just on trivia night.
Sure.
Because on trivia night means you aren't just coming for the beer, you're coming for the beer and answering questions. If you would like, I can ask you questions. I can happily ask you questions, like if that's what you need. But like, that's fine. I'll ask you all the questions you want about like 3 topics because I don't know much anymore. But that's not the point.
So how then do you want to bring this to the point of your bad customer behavior?
My bad customer behavior is this. Instead of hunting for the thing that's going to keep you entertained for 20 minutes, just support your local brewery and go and hang out. Have the conversation with the person sitting next to you, because the person sitting next to you is also out hanging at their local brewery, which means you guys both want to be there. There was something very special 8 to 9 years ago in the beer industry when everyone was kind of like, I just want to go brewery hopping and see what everybody's got, and I want to meet the people that are there and build relationships. So do that. Don't hunt for the thing because it's like the quick dopamine fix. Go to your brewery because you love your brewery, because you love the brewer's beer, because you want to be in that setting. Don't go because all of a sudden you got to like balance out your neurotransmitters with like music bingo. There it is. It's like been on my mind for a while, and it's just speaking to things that are happening in the industry.
Well, that being said, go ahead.
Well, in other words, kids, she's saying, get off my lawn.
Yeah. And
I don't even have a lawn anymore, so that's fine. Get the hell off my lawn.
Kids, get off my lawn.
If you go to hailstormbrewing.com, you can see all the wonderful beers on tap and the food in the kitchen, and also the schedule of live music that'll be at the brewery.
And we do have pinball machines, and we do have slots, and we do have all that other stuff.
Sure. And that's not bad at all, right? And like everybody's got it, and we all have to have it now. It's just a weird thing to me that I like the trend of like consumerism here, and then the trend of like entertainment and where they're meeting, right? To get.
Well, it's also a good way to get. Oh, go ahead.
It's just it's just one of those things that, we work very closely with a lot of the breweries down in our area. Yeah. So we do have the trolley that's going, from,
that's a cool thing.
It's going, flip side and then to us. And
Yeah, no, and there's so much. I guess I do sound a little like get off my lawn, but whatever.
Well, you also have to have things there. If like I may be going to Hailstorm because I want to drink the Irish Red or I want to drink Hotel Life or I want to go there for the beers. But maybe somebody I'm going with is like, well, I'm just a good friend of mine. He doesn't drink anymore, so he comes. It's nice for him. He comes because he wants to hang out with me. He knows I'm going to drink the beer, but he's going to have a Diet Coke. And if he wants to play pinball for a couple minutes, I don't begrudge him that. Or if there's some music there, it adds to the ambiance. I'm sorry. I gotta disagree a little bit.
Absolutely respectfully disagree. I couldn't come up with one specific example, and it was more like
you damn kids.
I know.
And then I was going to mention Sound Growler as well because they're right around the corner from us.
Yeah.
And then Banging Gavel is now
right down there too. And
they're up and going here very shortly. I mean, they've been pouring guest beers, but so they're all.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, Homewood's not too far.
Is Homewood going to be by you as well?
No, that's going to be out east a little bit.
Directions.
But they're still going to be opening up on the south side. So so we do work together to get people in for the beer, but it is very competitive now where we're always looking for that edge. It's like, hey, and when you look at like the gambling kind of thing,
well, that's
like those things. It's crazy that gas stations and all that, and we have people who like will hit gas stations to gamble on their way to work in the morning, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so it's like if they can come to our place and drink beer and gamble,
sure.
Sure.
So
and then I love pinball, so I'm not complaining about that. So,
and it wasn't even more of a complaint thing, but I think it was more trying to speak to like there is so much competition that we don't really see as competition because we all know each other. So it's this weird kind of familial competition almost, right? But then to have the edge, and I just think there was a time when we didn't all have to have an edge. But again, I might kind of like beer be a smidge bitter.
Ouch. Thanks for watching. Thank you for joining us. Hold on.
And
Cody,
and then
with a ghost mic. Look at this.
There it is. Cody, our executive producer. Hi, Cody.
Hey, Cody.
Hey, hi. So if you're listening to this, or if you're watching this on Spotify, because you can actually watch the full video of the show on Spotify, we will put up a poll with this episode.
No.
Yes, we will.
No.
Tell us, how do you feel about the gimmicks? Is it getting overdone? Is there too much? Are you tired of it? Do you pine for the old days? Or do you think it's just their way of getting involved? You can just vote, click on the episode. Nothing's going to happen with it, Catherine.
Nobody's coming at you.
It's just
don't know that. You don't know that.
No. People can't comment.
People can't comment.
You click A or B. You just click A or B. Yeah. I'm curious, and we'll talk about it on a future episode.
Right. We had a block party in our new place, like right away. Their first annual block party, and we met the guys across the street. They're opening up a gaming and whiskey bar.
Interesting.
Oh, right in the same industrial place?
It's going to be in Evergreen Park.
By
95th and Francisco. So it's going to be gaming and whiskey. So just like I don't play those games.
How did Catherine get canceled?
If you're the old one on the episode, that's dangerous. That's my wheelhouse. Cranky old man. You're supposed to be the cherub.
I was the cherub.
A different
bathed
episode.
in light yesterday.
Oh, well, that's all right. Listen, friends. Thanks for enjoying another episode. Well, enjoying may be a loose term, but thanks for being with us for another episode of Crafty Brewers Tales Behind Craft Beer. The one thing that is we do want to be serious about. Please go out, support your local brewery.
Yeah, absolutely.
These men and women are creating wonderful product, wonderful beers, and whether you want to play games or something or not, you can still go and have a beer and enjoy yourself. But it's important to keep going because if you don't keep going,
at the end of the day, go.
Right. You're going to be drinking mass-produced swill just like you did back in the 80s, and nobody wants that. So support your local brewery. Yes, sir.
And sorry, I just thought of something.
You thought of something.
I was talking with Susie last night, and when I do brewery tour stuff, oftentimes people say, "What's your favorite beer?" And I always say, "This one."
Yeah.
Like the beer that I'm drinking.
Right, the one in the glass.
And then so Susie and I were looking at the sunset together last night, and I said, "You know what? that's the exact same thing. It's like, enjoy the sunset that you were watching at that point. Yes. Be in the moment. Don't get distracted by anything else. Just enjoy that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you see the beautiful sunset over the desert. You see a beautiful sunset over the mountain, and just take the time and enjoy the beer that you've got in front of you and appreciate it.
And appreciate what
went into it.
And that's why he's Wil Turner and you're not.
Live in the moment.
Cheers.
God. All right.
All right. Crafty Brewers, Tales Behind Craft Beer is produced by executive producer Cody Goff. You can read our blog, grab some merch, check out episodes, and get in touch with us on our website, craftybrewerspod.com. Do you have a brewery that you'd like us to talk to? Are you a brewer who wants to join us and have as much fun as Wil just did sitting with us in this cacophony of conversation that we had? Yeah, back to the alliteration. Boom. Full circle. Mic drop. Anyway, you can do all of that. You can do all.
But you're still holding it. You can't drop it because Cody will kill you.
Well, no, this is a very expensive mic. And it's mine, so I'm not dropping it.
What are you doing?
But if you have a myth you want busted, do you have some bad customer behavior you want to tell us
that
about?
That isn't gaming related.
Do you want to send us some? Do you want to send Katherine a note and go, listen, I'm a trivia host and I love going to breweries.
Nope.
It is craftybrewerspod@gmail.com. Katherine, what should they do other than not send emails about trivia?
Oh my God. Hi, everyone. Please follow us on Instagram. We're at crafty_brewers.
That's the sales pitch we're looking for. That's the energy we love.
This is the energy we are.
That's what we like.
This is what you came for. crafty_brewers_pod on Instagram, please. Do subscribe on all of the different streaming platforms that you possibly can. We are everywhere that you can get podcasts. And then when you do that, rate Brian Noonan and Cody Goff 5 stars. Save your personal views of me and my opinions on being entertained while drinking and keep those to yourself. Many thanks.
How many beers did you guys have?
Not as many as we should.
But
you know what?
6, but I finished 2 of them.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
And they were each 5 ounces, so
we got nothing.
10 ounces.
We got nothing to entertain us, so we just have to drink.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
make it stop.
For Crafty Brewers, Tales Behind Craft Beer, she's Katherine Vallow.
He's Brian Noonan.
Any final words?
Absolutely not.
Out.